The Washington Commanders are in a great situation. The last time I covered this team, Dan Snyder was still the owner of this team, and he has officially sold the team. That right there alone puts this franchise in a better situation than they were in a couple of months ago. And I look at them on an on-field product for them to be one of the better, fun, young teams to watch in the NFL. They have a lot of things going good for them right now. You're bringing in a brand new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy, and I do believe the Commanders could be a very tough team to beat in the NFL. Not saying they are a playoff team, but the biggest thing is getting Sam Howell ready. Can he be a true franchise quarterback for this team, or could he just be a quarterback this team can depend on? Because the last couple of years, it's been a revolving door at that position. They went out and got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Didn't work out, dealt with a hip injury, so you had to depend on Taylor Heineke. And Taylor Heineke is a good quarterback as a backup, but he's not a true starter in the NFL for a full sled-on season. Then you had Carson Wentz last season, wasn't dependable, threw a lot of dumb interceptions, hurt his finger in the Chicago Bears game, a Thursday night game. You depend on Taylor Heineke, and he did more good for this offense than Carson Wentz did for the entire season. So hopefully Sam Howell can come in and he can be a true franchise quarterback for this team. He has a big arm, good accuracy, and has decent mobility as well. So I expect for him to be very good with this team. He may not be a franchise quarterback week one, but in this system with Eric Bieniemy, he should be able to find his groove, especially with these weapons around him. And I do want to start off with their offense before I get into their defense. They are going to be a very defensive-led team, but their offense is going to have to wake up. They struggled last season, and I understand they dealt with injuries. In the past, Curtis Samuel's dealt with injuries, and so has Jahan Dotson. But when they're fully healthy, you have a very good wide receiving core. Terry McLaurin is a very good wide receiver, and he is slept on in the NFL. I expect for Terry McLaurin to have another very good season. 77 receptions last season, 1,191 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns, and he averaged 15.5 yards a catch. And that is very impressive, because he's going down the DeAndre Hopkins route. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he's going to find a way to go out there and dominate on the field. And he's going to go out there and find a way to go and put up good production and try to help the team. He may not be in the same conversation with guys like Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp when healthy and Devontae Adams. He may not get that name recognition, but he's a very good wide receiver that deserves to be put in that discussion, in my opinion, because of the way that he plays the game and those tough catches that he makes. So I see Terry McLaurin, his talent, being one of those high-end wide receivers in the NFL. Jahan Dotson is also very good as well. 7 receiving touchdowns last season, and it led this team in receiving touchdowns. And the crazy part is he missed some games last season, but when he was on the field, he was worthy of being a first-round pick. 523 receiving yards only on the season, and 15 yards a catch. So you have 2 wide receivers that can go get you 15 yards in a cloud of dust like it's nothing. And Curtis Samuel is a very good wide receiver as well. 656 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. But the thing is, with Curtis Samuel, can play inside the slot, outside the slot, and you can also line him up at running back as well in certain formations. They did it with the Carolina Panthers. He's a very good versatile wide receiver. The only thing that bothers me with Curtis Samuel are the injuries. But when he is fully healthy and he's ready to go, he's a very good versatile playmaker for this team. And you look at the guys that they have in the running back room. I like Brian Robinson Jr. I think that is the true number 1 running back with this team. And you also have Antonio Gibson as well, who is very good in his own right. So you have a very good 1-2 punch between both of those guys. Their run game is what pushed them over the edge against certain teams last season. Brian Robinson Jr., 797 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Antonio Gibson came in certain situations, and he had to carry the load, and the run game didn't slow down at all. 546 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. But the biggest thing is keeping Sam Howell protected and making sure he can develop. You also have Logan Thomas as well. Hasn't fully broken out with this team. A lot of guys in the NFL circles speak highly of Logan Thomas. He needs to break out in the system with Eric Bieniemy. We've seen Eric Bieniemy be in the same discussion with Andy Reid in terms of play calling with the Chiefs in the past, and they use their tight ends heavy. Hopefully Logan Thomas can come in and he can be used correctly with Eric Bieniemy. We will see. And the offensive line should be better with them bringing in Andrew Wiley at the right tackle position. So they should be better off this season offensively than they were last season. It just comes down to, can Sam Howell be a true franchise quarterback for this team? And if Sam Howell isn't the answer and they are trying to make a true playoff push, you have Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is one of the best backups in the NFL. And I do believe he has a higher ceiling than Taylor Heineke. Not saying that Jacoby Brissett is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's not top 10, not top 15, but he's a good veteran option to have. And I do think if Sam Howell does go down to injury, knock on wood, or if it doesn't work out halfway point in the season and you're trying to salvage your season, bring in Jacoby Brissett. I think Jacoby Brissett would be a nice guy to have around these young players if Sam Howell doesn't work out. But the biggest thing is roll with the punches with Sam Howell. He obviously should be the starting quarterback for this team. Now, defensively, this is when things get good. This is where I like to watch the Commanders on film. Their defense is very good up front. Chase Young has been able to stay healthy, and that sucks because you select him in the first round a couple of years ago. You decline his fifth-year option. When he is on the field, he is very good against stopping the run, and he can get to the quarterback. The problem is injuries with this kid. When he was coming out of Ohio State, he was one of the best defensive players in that draft class coming out of college. So he has to be able to just stay healthy and get on the field because the rest of his defensive line is crazy. Deron Payne is a phenomenal defensive tackle. 11.5 sacks last season, can stop the run, can push the pocket. Jonathan Allen, also 7.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. He's a playmaker. Montez Sweat, 8 sacks last season, but he's such a freak of nature off the edge. It opens up things for other guys across the middle because of how fast he comes off the edge, and he makes those tackles backpedal extremely fast in certain situations because how fast he is moving off the edge. He's just a very good, versatile defensive lineman. Now, their linebackers, it's a bit of an issue. They're not horrible, but I look at a guy like Jamin Davis. He needs to develop into being a true franchise middle linebacker for this team, or just being a true linebacker for this team in general. He needs to be more of a playmaker. Not saying that he's bad. He hasn't been horrible with this team, but he hasn't been first round pick worthy. I do think that he will be better. He's still young. He's still figuring things out, and he has potential to be a very good linebacker and to be the best linebacker with this team. They signed Cody Barton. I look at Cody Barton as a decent veteran to have from the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of Seahawks fans hated Cody Barton, but he isn't that bad. He does miss plays here and there, but I think he'll be better in this system with the Washington Commanders because their front four is so good at getting to the quarterback, so he should be in a better situation of filling in those gaps. Now, the secondary last season, when it came to William Jackson III, he was terrible. That's why they traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They signed him to a long-term contract. He didn't work out. He was horrible. And we see right now he is not even with an NFL team. He was blaming the system. He was blaming Ron Rivera. He just wasn't good with this Commanders team. But Kendall Fuller is a good corner, and Cameron Curl is a playmaking safety, one of the best playmaking safeties in the NFL. He doesn't get his recognition. May not have the interception numbers, but he's clutch against stopping the run and against stopping the pass as well. So he's a good safety to have. And you also drafted Emmanuel Forbes in the first round. He has potential to be one of the best corners in the NFL, the way that he played the game at Mississippi State. Not saying that he will be on day one, but that's a potential. And you have to put this into perspective as well. The cornerbacks don't have to hold for as long with this Commanders team because they're able to generate so much pressure up front. And it would seem like if you just get Chase Young on the field, it should be even better for this defense. So their defense can be able to carry the weight throughout the season, in my opinion, if they can stay healthy. But the biggest thing for this Commanders team is going to developmental mode. And this is the part of the video to where you could say the Commanders have been making some mistakes at the quarterback position. Years ago, when they were the Washington Redskins, they were franchise tagging Kirk Cousins like it was no tomorrow. They was tagging him like it was a video game. Then they decide to let that run out. He wanted to go to the Minnesota Vikings, and they've struggled at the quarterback position for some time now. Not saying that Kirk Cousins was just a phenomenal quarterback for the team. I'm just looking at the Commanders to just find some type of stability at the quarterback position just for the next couple of years to get this team over the hump, because they are still young, but they are young enough and good enough to make some noise in the NFL. You look at the games that they won last season. They split with the Dallas Cowboys. They won the last game of the regular season, and you can't say that the Dallas Cowboys weren't trying, because they were. They were just beating up on Dak Prescott and crew early in the game. They tied with the New York Giants, then they lost to the New York Giants. They played them very close. if they were able to take care of the football in those situations, maybe they're able to win both of those games or won those games. And they split with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is crazy to think about. I understand that you're in your division. It's easier to game plan for those teams because you face them twice a year, but it's still very impressive for them to go out and beat the Philadelphia Eagles on the Monday night game. I understand the defensive line was hurt and it was beat up, but they still took advantage of it. And Ron Rivera had a very good game plan for him. I've always given Ron Rivera some criticism, and I give him a lot of praise as well. He is very good when it comes to game plan against stopping the run, but they need to get into a situation to where they can get this offense right. Last season was a travesty for what he did to that offense by letting that offensive coordinator stay for so long. But bringing in Eric Bieniemy, a guy that a lot of people in the NFL circles have been high on, saying that he's been underneath Andy Reid. Why is he not a head coach? This is time for him to prove that he is a good coach in the NFL. I know it's unfair to say this, but this is a situation to where he has to put the Washington Commanders offense over the edge, because if he can't, it's a bad look, because the first thing people are going to say, see, it was Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes all along. Eric Bieniemy got exposed. So he has to come out with the right concepts, especially with the weapons on this offense, and get this team right. I do believe the Washington Commanders will be a tough team in the NFL. I don't know about them being in the playoffs. It's a tough division, and your quarterback is unknown right now. But if Sam Howell can come out and he can be lights out, they may be a playoff team, to be completely honest, because their defense is so good. And I do believe Emmanuel Forbes, day one, will be a good corner with this team. And I do think by the end of the season that he can be in the conversation of being a true number one corner in the NFL. But let me know how you feel about the Washington Commanders in the comment section below. And brighter days are ahead with the Commanders. Just by Dan Snyder selling his team, that was a plus. That was a huge plus. The thing is with the Commanders, the culture has been so toxic and so bad for the last couple of years. And it starts from the top. So you bring in and pump in a brand new culture. It's a new beginning for this team. And I hope they can go back to brighter days. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and the last guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.